We've got $50 to make the best investment, and Valve just went ahead and dropped Season 2 for CS, so we're going to be talking about what that means for the investing side. Starting off with the FAMAS. Now, personally, I thought the FAMAS was going to be quite overlooked just because it's not really an important skin, but if we want to look at it, the majority of them are up quite significantly. We're looking at 30-40% profit easily if you invested just a couple days ago, and some of them, like the FAMAS commemoration, are over double, and there's none listed on the market, which is absolutely crazy. This is also a very similar situation to what we're seeing for the M4A4s because they received a buff and they're decreasing in price. Obviously, they went from 3,100 to now 2,900, and if we want to look at it right here, almost all of them are on the pretty similar trajectory of being up quite significantly. Now, I will say, obviously, this is something that could be overhyped, and we could see a little bit of a pullback. It's honestly not too uncommon that it's something we see. Usually, people are just really excited, and unfortunately, that falls off, but it's definitely a possibility that we could also see a decrease for the M4A1S, because obviously, if the M4A4 is being utilized more, it could be a decrease for the M4A1S, but remember now, with the new shop, you can have both of them in there, so it's not necessarily a guaranteed one-to-one like it used to be previously. There's also some other smaller tweaks. Looking at Osni here, he says the AUG is a little bit more zoomed in. Monasi believes that the MP9 is a little bit more tweaked now, but nothing super significant other than those major three we talked about at the beginning. SkinSwap just went ahead and dropped their biggest update ever. Not only are they sponsoring you with that top link in the description, but they're also introducing backpacks, allowing you to buy any item on the site and it's going to be personally held for you. Their trading feature is often told to be the best in the business, offering near instant trades, taking under 30 seconds right now. And their selling feature is instant as well, offering PayPal, crypto, and tons of different options if you're looking to get your money this second. And finally, they've always got that 40% deposit bonus if you're looking to pick up some brand new skins, so try them out today. There's no reason not to. Now, talking about everything relating to Shanghai, there's a lot of new information. Starting off here, obviously, Vertigo is out. Therefore, if you got souvenir tokens that you still are waiting to redeem, I think Vertigo is probably going to be a relatively solid choice unless you're going Dust 2. Otherwise, though, we got a lot of brand new application data when it comes to majors for Shanghai. Obviously, if we want to look at the regular stickers, we knew these data pieces already. It's not really too anything out of the extraordinary, but we've got the autographs, and if we want to look at them right now, we can see a very interesting trend. Obviously, people are really preferring the Legends autograph and specifically the application numbers because it's got your Donk Hollow. It's going to be unboxed the most, but if we want to look at the other two, there is like nearly no applications for these. This is absolutely crazy and something I've been trying to preach over the past couple of majors. People are not interested in the autograph capsules really at all unless they've got a big name inside of them. Therefore, it could be the opportunity for a potential investment, or it could be the opportunity for a huge fall off because no one really cares about these capsules at all. I think overall we're seeing a strong level of fatigue in the current market, which is the most prevalent with what we're talking about here, souvenir packages and autograph capsules, specifically the ones that don't have any unique factors about them. Obviously, if we're talking about capsules, they're 25 cents. The ROI on these things is not absolutely abysmal for a couple of them at least. I would just say I don't think there's a really strong opportunity here because I don't think this hype is going to last. Now, talking about our case market, there's a lot to go over. First up, if we want to talk about the absolute profit that we're in for the majority of these cases over the past month, it's really insane, but it's even more insane when we focus on these cheaper rare cases. We talked about the cheaper rare cases being your Danger Zone, your Prismas. Obviously, these cases have shown a significant amount of growth, but there's one area I've kind of skipped over a little bit. That's going to be the cheapest of the cheap cases, even your active duty cases, but not really as much. We're talking about your Snakebite and your Clutch. They are up significantly over the past month just because these are the cheapest investment people can get into right now. The truth is, people are really focused on one thing, really cheap investments that have strong potential over the long term, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now with the Snakebite and the Clutch case. People are really after these cases because they are rare cases. Obviously, they're not the most desirable by any means, but they're unboxed a fair amount, and people are really interested in cases that qualify into these areas. I personally have a pretty strong feeling that we're going to see a lot of these interests fall onto these cheaper rare cases. People are really interested in investments that have strong opportunities that they're not going to have to get a ton of money into, and honestly, I don't think we're going to be seeing very strong ROIs from some of these more expensive cases compared to some of these cheaper rare cases, especially in the current market coming up, especially when you consider the fact that the supplies on these cheaper rare cases is starting to go down quite drastically to get to the point where I think we could definitely see a squeeze upcoming on a lot of these prices, which would be really good for investors. Now, talking about everything to the Armory, in the previous video we talked about this right here, and we've actually got a new updated graph that shows a little bit of an interesting trend. First up, Overpass is now the most supplied industrial. If you remember, those are those light blue from the Armory collection. With that being said, we're still seeing a relatively consistent line for the graphic collection, being that it's so far behind. Really good for potential investors if you're trying to get into the collection game. Otherwise, we're still seeing really solid application numbers for everything to do with the sticker collections from the Armory itself. And finally, if you're interested in these specific ROIs, we're seeing relatively consistent numbers all across the board. The Sport and Field has actually risen up a little bit. It's at 125%, but otherwise we're seeing roughly 135 to 120% for the majority of everything that you can get from the Armory, which is relatively unsurprising, I would say, inside of the current market. Now, one interesting thing is obviously these active duty cases. Now, price-wise, they have been going absolutely crazy, and I don't think anyone's going to deny the fact that if we want to look at the cheapest ones, they're almost doubled in price, which we did make an investment into in this series previously at a 14-cent price point. Now they're a little too expensive. The big thing I want to point out right now is the fact that we are starting to transition to a point where we're starting to see more active duty cases produced and we're actually seeing unboxed. For a while, it wasn't that way, especially for the dreams and nightmares. Now we're back on that trend, which is very important if you're trying to make an investment in this area. And it's also just a good thing overall for the case investing market, because obviously we need the supplies of these active duty cases to be going up if we want any future of an investment. Now, we just previously talked about Shanghai, but if we want to talk about the overall capsule market, things have been going down quite drastically. Obviously, we knew Antwerp was on a rough patch, but we've officially got our capsule cheaper than 25 cents. The Antwerp Challengers capsule is now looking at like a 21-cent price point. Paris is looking at like an 8 or 9 cent price point. It's absolutely crazy what has happened inside this area, and that's why I'm advising you against making a Shanghai investment unless you're very passionate about it. The overall capsule market is struggling, and I don't think we're going to be seeing any sign of recovery anytime soon. Now, the first thing I'm going to be buying is doubling down on a previous investment. We're going back to the Riptide stickers, which have been producing relatively well if you want to look at the application numbers overall, and buying 5 more of the cheapest holo I can find there. I just think it's a very solid investment because we know the supply is completely limited. We know that price point we're getting it at is a relatively solid one, and the truth is, I honestly, looking at the overall sticker market when we're talking about capsules and such, think that this is a very strong potential compared to that, because that has no potential at all. The second investment I'm going to be making is into the gallery case, and I think the gallery case is a very solid option and relatively safe depending on how you look at it. It's got a baseline of 80 cents. It's never going to go below that theoretically, because that's the cost in stars alone, not including your time. And when we're talking about the gallery case, the potential that it does get removed down the line and end up relatively expensive is a strong potential if it does get removed. Obviously, it's a little bit of a bet on that, but I definitely think if we look at the fundamentals of this case, the ROI being so high and everything about it, it's a very solid option, and it's very attractive for people to open right now, which is really good. Second to last investment is going to be the sticker capsule 2. If we're talking about investments that have been quite solid long term, it's going to be the sticker capsule 2. If we want to look at it, the peaks and dips line up perfectly with the market, and right now I think the market is definitely leaning towards a little bit more of a peak than a dip, and yet if we want to look at the price point of this thing, it's still extremely low. Technically, it is in the rare drop pool, making up 1% of all those drops, but I definitely think this thing has a lot of potential when it comes with it. The crown foil is not something that is picked up too significantly in CS2, and if that comes around, this thing has the huge potential behind it. And lastly, we're going to be picking up some of the CS20 case. Now, I absolutely despise this case when we're talking about rare cases, but the unboxing numbers are okay compared to the supply, and the best thing about it right now is the fact that it holds the FAMAS commemoration, something that's very in demand, and it's still a rare case at the end of the day. I don't think it's going to be anything too special, but it seems like it's on a relatively decent trajectory, and overall rare cases are something I definitely want to be involved in the way the current market is going. I think it's a solid option, but not my favorite, but at a good price point, I can't pass it up. That's all I got with the use, so I hope you have a great rest of your day.